Howdy, folks, and welcome back to Healthy Humor. I'm your host, Doc MB. With me today, we've got Babe. Winnie might come join us, we don't know. You can look up ratings and reviews for every restaurant you go to. You can look up ratings and reviews for people that you sell things to on Facebook Marketplace. And as we've talked about in an episode previously, you can certainly look up all of your care providers and, anything from whether or not they've got, ever had a suspended medical license, all the way through to just kind of how people feel about them. And hospitals are no different. And that's what we're going to be talking about today. We're going to talk about how you can look up different hospitals in your area and kind of do a compare and contrast based on certain elements. So hospitals are very much like most other industries out there. They use KPIs, or key performance indicators, to kind of showcase where they're at, where they can be doing better, and maybe some areas where they're already doing better or doing great even. So that might be Winnie. We're going to talk about those KPIs. Hospital KPIs differ a little bit. Obviously, you're in a clinical setting, so one of your key performance indicators or categories for key performance indicators is going to be your clinical outcomes. So clinical outcomes in a hospital might include things like mortality rates, right? Like the rate at which individuals are dying or surviving their hospital stay. Rates of readmission, how frequently are you seeing the same individuals or same cases coming back into the hospital? They're also going to be scored on patient safety, which could be, infection rates. It could be even survival rates. So not just looking at, oh, did we get infected, but did we survive our stay? Did we survive our surgery? Also maybe looking at surgical errors, things like that. Also looking at operational differences or areas for improvement, right? How long are individuals needing to stay in the hospital once they are admitted? What is it costing us the royal us, right? The individual who might be the patient, but also what is it costing the hospital per patient that has to ultimately have a stay at the hospital? And then obviously we're going to look at our patient experience and those surveys that we're constantly being flooded with whenever we check in at a hospital, check in with our doctor's office, whenever we go to leave. Sometimes we get them in our email later on. Sometimes we get a phone call and it's someone just trying to ask us these survey questions over the phone. But those satisfaction surveys go a long way towards measuring how well a hospital is doing. If you are interested in trying to determine how well a hospital is doing in your area, which if you're listening to this show, watching this podcast, you're probably pretty interested, right? Or at the very least, you might be interested now. And you should be. You should be definitely interested in your care. And as someone who's from Tulsa, obviously certain hospitals in the Tulsa area have had reputations as not being the best. Some people might know that there's a hospital in town that used to have a much better reputation, and it's kind of changing. And there are some other smaller groups in town that have always had good reputations, or some that have always not had great reputations. And there's kind of this misconception that a hospital is a hospital. I can go wherever, or, oh, my cousin had a bad experience there, so I really shouldn't go there. And as amazing as that kind of, anecdotal evidence of reputation or things like that go, sometimes it's nice to look at the clear-cut evidence, right? Those rates of infection, those rates of readmittance, or those satisfaction surveys where you can see the average experience and not just some sort of biased experience that you might have heard from just, a cousin or a coworker or something like that. So if you're interested in looking up key performance indicators, there are two really great sites that I suggest. The first one is medicare.gov. So if you go to medicare.gov, you can go to, scroll down, click on hospitals. You can search based on Tulsa, Oklahoma, and then you can, click on quality. And from there, you can look over, the quality KPI or KPIs related to quality for all of those facilities in Tulsa. A site that gives a little more information, which is hospitalsafetygrade.org. You can search by your city and state. It gives you a little pop-up window right away to be able to search for these things. A difference here with this site is it does give you a grade of A through F for any of the different facilities that it's showing you, which those kinds of grading systems are not inherently wrong, but I would caution anyone using those, don't just assume that because it has an A rating, that it has an A rating in what you're looking for, right? If I'm I'm very concerned about rates of infection following a bunion surgery, because I had a bunion surgery not that long ago. That's something that I might be looking for specifically is rates of infection. And, a hospital could still have an A or B rating, but they might not have the best rating when it comes to rates of infection post-surgery. So I would make sure to actually look there, or, look for rates of infection post-surgery. But, something else might be different for you. You might be more curious just based on patient satisfaction. You're not that concerned about rates of infection, or you're not that concerned about being readmitted, or you're not that concerned about developing bed sores because you know that there's a very small chance that you're going to be admitted to the hospital because you're going in for some sort of outpatient activity, or, activity. Regardless of whatever it is that you're looking for, the safety scores are amazing, and you can search based on things like infections, problems with surgery, safety problems, practices, preventable errors, things like that. To kind of round everything out here, remember, you can always look up a provider, you can always look up a hospital. Don't assume that a hospital's reputation is accurate, and certainly don't assume that you know everything about a hospital because you've been going there for a long time. There's something to be said for level of comfort, absolutely, but hospitals change just like any other business, just like any other entity, any other person. They change and they evolve over time. Certainly with leadership and ownership changes, they evolve. And it's important to make sure that, as they're changing and evolving, that they're keeping up with your needs as a patient or your concerns as a patient. So certainly look up any facility that you have the chance to look up. Obviously, in an emergency situation, you won't always have time, but when you do have time, look them up. Or if you have some ease in your schedule to do such a thing, absolutely go compare them and figure out which one's going to serve you the best and which one you feel the most comfortable taking yourself, or maybe your family too, if you are maybe the person who is responsible for making those decisions for your family. And above all, go out and have a happy and healthy day.